Assalamu alaikum everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're discussing a topic that often raises questions, confusion, and sometimes even criticism. Is it permissible to meet a girl before marriage? And if yes, under what conditions? Let's approach this with clarity, balance, and understanding. First of all, it's important to recognize that marriage in Islam is not just a social contract. It's a lifelong commitment. Because of that, Islam does not encourage blind decisions. Instead, it promotes informed, thoughtful choices. When we talk about meeting a girl before marriage, the very first and most important thing to understand is the intention behind that meeting. In Islam, actions are judged primarily by intentions, and this principle applies strongly here. If the purpose of meeting is sincere, clear, and directed toward marriage, then it is viewed in a completely different light compared to casual or entertainment-based interaction. This distinction is not small. It is the foundation of what makes something permissible or impermissible. A sincere intention means that a person is genuinely considering marriage and wants to make a responsible, informed decision. Marriage is not a temporary commitment. It is a lifelong partnership that affects not only two individuals, but also families and future generations. Because of this, Islam does not encourage entering marriage blindly. Instead, it allows a person to take reasonable steps to ensure compatibility, understanding, and mutual respect. Meeting in this context becomes a purposeful step, not a form of casual socializing. On the other hand, if the intention is weak, unclear, or purely emotional, such as passing time, seeking attention, or forming a relationship without commitment, then even the same meeting loses its permissibility. The external action may look similar, but internally it is completely different. Islam places great emphasis on protecting hearts and preventing emotional harm. Casual interactions without a clear goal often lead to attachment, disappointment, and sometimes even long-term emotional damage. That is why intention acts as a filter, separating what is responsible from what is harmful. A strong intention also brings discipline. When someone knows they are meeting for the purpose of marriage, they naturally behave differently. The conversation becomes more meaningful, focusing on values, goals, character, and expectations rather than superficial or flirtatious topics. There is a sense of respect, seriousness, and accountability in the interaction. This mindset helps both individuals maintain boundaries and avoid situations that could lead them away from their moral values. Furthermore, sincerity in intention builds trust. When families are involved or aware, and when both individuals are clear about their purpose, the process becomes transparent and respectful. There is no secrecy, no hidden motives, and no confusion about where things are heading. This clarity protects everyone involved and ensures that the process remains honorable. It is also important to remember that intention is not just something we claim. It is something that reflects in our actions. If someone says their intention is marriage, but behaves in a way that contradicts that, such as engaging in inappropriate conversation or unnecessary closeness, then the intention itself becomes questionable. True intention aligns with behavior. The permissibility of meeting before marriage is not a blanket approval. It is a conditional allowance rooted deeply in sincerity. When the intention is pure and focused on building a lawful, respectful future, the meeting becomes a step towards something meaningful. But without that intention, the same action can easily cross into what Islam aims to prevent. That is why intention is not just the starting point. It is the guiding force that shapes the entire interaction. One of the most practical and thoughtful aspects of Islam is that it encourages people to make informed decisions, especially when it comes to something as significant as marriage. Marriage is not just a moment of celebration. It is a lifelong commitment that requires emotional compatibility, shared values, mutual respect, and understanding. Because of this, Islam does not promote making such an important decision blindly or based solely on assumptions, appearances, or external pressure. When two individuals are considering marriage, it is natural for them to want to know whether they are suitable for each other. This does not mean forming a relationship without boundaries, but rather having enough interaction to understand essential aspects of each other's personality and life goals. Without this understanding, people may enter marriage with unrealistic expectations or incomplete knowledge, which can later lead to conflict, disappointment, or even separation. Islam acknowledges human nature and recognizes that compatibility cannot be judged from a distance alone. Family background, reputation, or brief introductions may provide some information, but they cannot fully reveal a person's character, mindset, or approach to life. A respectful and purposeful meeting allows both individuals to communicate directly, ask meaningful questions, and observe each other's behavior. This helps them evaluate whether they share similar priorities, such as values, religious commitment, lifestyle preferences, and long-term goals. Making an informed decision also helps reduce the risk of regret. When people enter marriage without properly understanding each other, they may later discover major differences that could have been identified earlier. These differences can create tension and challenges that affect not only the couple, but also their families. Islam aims to prevent such situations by allowing a controlled and respectful way for individuals to gain clarity before making a final decision. Another important aspect is that informed decisions lead to stronger and more stable marriages. When both individuals have had the opportunity to understand each other within proper boundaries, they enter the marriage with clearer expectations. They are more likely to appreciate each other's strengths, accept differences, and communicate effectively. This foundation of awareness and understanding contributes to a healthier and more balanced relationship. At the same time, Islam ensures that this process remains dignified and respectful. The goal is not to encourage unnecessary interaction, but to allow just enough communication to make a wise and responsible choice. It is a balanced approach that protects individuals from both extremes, making decisions in complete ignorance or becoming involved in unrestricted relationships. It is also worth noting that seeking advice from family and trusted elders remains important, but it should be complemented by personal understanding. No one else can fully decide compatibility on behalf of two individuals who will share their lives together. Therefore, having the opportunity to interact within proper limits becomes a practical necessity. In essence, Islam promotes a thoughtful approach to marriage by encouraging people to seek clarity, understanding, and compatibility before committing. This guidance reflects wisdom and realism, ensuring that such an important decision is made with awareness rather than uncertainty. By allowing informed choices, Islam helps build marriages that are not only lawful but also strong, respectful, and lasting. Another important point to understand in this discussion is that the permissibility of meeting a potential spouse is not based on modern ideas or changing cultural norms, but rather has roots in authentic Islamic guidance. The teachings of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, provide clear direction on this matter, showing that Islam approaches marriage with both wisdom and practicality. His guidance demonstrates that taking steps to ensure compatibility before marriage is not only allowed but, in certain cases, encouraged. It is reported in various narrations that the Prophet, peace be upon him, advised companions to look at the person they intended to marry. This was not for the purpose of forming a casual connection, but rather to help them make a confident and informed decision. The reasoning behind this advice is deeply thoughtful. When a person has seen and understood the one they are considering for marriage, it increases the likelihood of acceptance, satisfaction, and long-term harmony in the relationship. This guidance reflects a clear understanding of human emotions and expectations. Attraction, comfort, and mutual understanding play an important role in a successful marriage. Ignoring these factors can sometimes lead to dissatisfaction or emotional distance after marriage. By allowing individuals to see and have limited interaction with a potential spouse, Islam helps prevent such issues before they arise. It is also important to recognize that the Prophet's guidance was always balanced with modesty and respect. There was no encouragement of free mixing, private meetings, or emotional attachment outside of clear intentions. Instead, the emphasis was on a purposeful and dignified approach. The idea was to gain enough understanding to make a decision without crossing the boundaries that protect moral values. This approach highlights the difference between permissible interaction and what Islam discourages. The meeting is not meant to be repeated endlessly or to develop into a relationship without commitment. Rather, it is a step within a structured and respectful process that leads toward marriage. Once clarity is achieved, the decision should be made in a timely and responsible manner. Another wisdom behind this guidance is the prevention of future regret. When individuals are given the opportunity to see and understand each other beforehand, they are less likely to feel uncertain or dissatisfied later. This reduces the chances of conflict and helps build a stronger emotional foundation for the marriage. It also shows that Islam prioritizes long-term stability over short-term restrictions. Furthermore, following the example of the Prophet, peace be upon him, brings a sense of confidence and reassurance. When people know that their actions are aligned with authentic teachings, they feel more secure in their decisions. It removes confusion and replaces it with clarity rooted in faith. In essence, this guidance demonstrates that Islam is not disconnected from human needs. It provides a structured way to address them without compromising on values. By encouraging individuals to take reasonable steps before marriage, the teachings of the Prophet, peace be upon him, ensure that relationships begin with understanding, sincerity, and respect. This balance is what makes the process both permissible and beneficial, leading to marriages that are more stable, harmonious, and fulfilling. While Islam allows a person to meet a potential spouse for the purpose of marriage, it places strong emphasis on maintaining clear and firm boundaries throughout that interaction. These boundaries are not meant to make things difficult, but rather to protect both individuals from emotional harm and actions that could lead them away from their values. Without these limits, something that starts with a good intention can easily turn into something inappropriate. One of the most important boundaries is avoiding privacy in isolation. Islam discourages a man and a woman who are not married or closely related from being alone together in a private setting. This is because such situations can create easier for temptation or discomfort, even if both individuals initially have good intentions. Instead, meetings should take place in a respectful environment, such as in the presence of family members or in a public setting where dignity and accountability are maintained. This not only protects both individuals, but also creates a sense of transparency and trust. Another essential boundary is maintaining respectful and purposeful conversation. The goal of the meeting is to understand compatibility, not to entertain or build emotional attachment before marriage. Conversations should focus on important topics such as values, goals, expectations, lifestyle, and speaking in a flirtatious, overly casual, or suggestive manner goes against the spirit of the meeting and can shift the interaction away from its true purpose. Respect in communication reflects seriousness and helps both individuals stay focused on making a responsible decision. Modesty in behavior and appearance is also a key part of these boundaries. Islam encourages both men and women to present themselves in a dignified and respectful way. This does not mean being unnatural or overly formal, but rather avoiding anything that may attract attention in an inappropriate way. Modesty helps create an environment where the focus remains on character and compatibility rather than superficial attraction. Time and frequency of meetings should also be controlled. Islam does not encourage prolonged or repeated interactions without a clear direction. Endless conversations or frequent meetings can lead to emotional attachment, which may become difficult to manage if the marriage does not proceed. Keeping interactions limited and purposeful ensures that the process remains healthy and does not cross into unnecessary emotional involvement. Another important aspect is honesty and clarity. Both individuals should be open about their intentions and serious about the process. Playing with emotions, hiding important information, or delaying decisions without reason can cause harm and goes against Islamic ethics. Boundaries are not just about physical interaction, but also about emotional responsibility. It is important to understand that these boundaries do not restrict freedom. They actually provide protection. They create a safe space where two individuals can get to know each other without risking their dignity, values, or emotional well-being. In a world where relationships often become complicated due to lack of limits, Islam offers a structured approach that keeps things simple, respectful, and meaningful. The permissibility of meeting a potential spouse is directly tied to how well these boundaries are maintained. When they are respected, the meeting remains within the limits of Islam and serves its intended purpose. But when these boundaries are ignored, the situation can quickly move away from what is permissible. This is why boundaries are not just recommended. They are essential for keeping the entire process pure, balanced, and beneficial. One of the most beautiful aspects of Islamic guidance is that it always promotes balance, especially in matters related to human relationships. When it comes to meeting a potential spouse before marriage, Islam does not support extremes. On one side, there is the idea of completely restricting any form of interaction, where two individuals are expected to make a lifelong commitment without ever speaking or understanding each other. On the other side, there is the concept of unrestricted freedom, where boundaries are removed and relationships develop without any structure or accountability. Islam rejects both of these extremes and instead offers a moderate and thoughtful path. Completely avoiding interaction may appear to be a safer or more religious approach, but in reality, it can create serious challenges. When people enter marriage without any real understanding of each other, they may later discover differences in personality, expectations, or values that they were never aware of. This can lead to misunderstandings, dissatisfaction, and conflict within the marriage. Islam does not ignore these realities. It recognizes that human beings need a certain level of communication to make informed and confident decisions about such an important commitment. At the same time, Islam also does not allow unrestricted interaction between men and women before marriage. Casual dating, emotional involvement without commitment, and relationships without clear purpose can lead to many negative consequences. These include emotional attachment without stability, broken trust, and sometimes long-term emotional pain. When there are no boundaries, it becomes easy for people to cross limits, even unintentionally. This is why Islam sets clear guidelines to prevent such situations from developing in the first place. The balanced approach that Islam offers allows individuals to meet and communicate, but within a framework of respect, intention, and accountability. It gives enough space to understand compatibility while still protecting moral values. This middle path ensures that people do not make decisions blindly, but also do not fall into harmful patterns of behavior. It is a system that considers both emotional needs and ethical responsibilities. This balance also reflects fairness. It does not burden individuals with unrealistic restrictions, nor does it leave them without guidance. Instead, it provides a clear structure that helps them navigate an important phase of life with confidence and clarity. People are given the opportunity to ask questions, express concerns, and evaluate compatibility, all while maintaining dignity and self-respect. Another important benefit of this balanced approach is that it reduces confusion and lende in society. When clear guidelines are followed, families and communities can support the process in a healthy way. There is less secrecy, less misunderstanding, and more trust between all parties involved. This creates an environment where marriage decisions are made responsibly and with collective understanding. In essence, Islam's middle path is not just a compromise between two extremes. It is a carefully designed approach that brings out the best in both. It allows for understanding without losing modesty, and connection without losing purpose. By avoiding both total restriction and complete freedom, Islam ensures that the process of choosing a life partner remains respectful, meaningful, and aligned with moral values. This balance is what makes the system both practical and deeply wise, guiding individuals toward decisions that are not only permissible but also beneficial in the long run. One of the key wisdoms behind allowing a respectful and purposeful meeting before marriage is the protection of dignity and emotions. Islam places a very high value on both of these aspects, recognizing that human beings are not only physical, but also deeply emotional. When interactions between men and women are not guided properly, they can easily lead to emotional attachment, confusion, or even heartbreak. That is why Islam does not simply allow or forbid. It provides a structured approach that protects individuals from harm while still acknowledging their needs. When a meeting takes place within proper boundaries and with a clear intention of marriage, it creates a safe environment for both individuals. There is no pressure to impress in an unrealistic way, no expectation of building a romantic connection before commitment, and no for manipulation or dondren with feelings. Instead, the focus remains on understanding each other in a mature and respectful manner. This helps both individuals maintain their dignity, as they are not putting themselves in a vulnerable or compromising situation. Emotional protection is especially important because feelings can develop quickly, sometimes even before a person fully understands the other. In unstructured interactions, people may become attached based on limited knowledge or idealized perceptions. When things do not work out, this can lead to disappointment, sadness, and even long-term emotional relay. Islam aims to prevent this by limiting interaction to what is necessary and meaningful, ensuring that emotions do not grow beyond what the situation can responsibly support. Another aspect of dignity is self-respect. When individuals follow a respectful process, they value themselves and the other person as well. They avoid situations that could damage their reputation or lead to regret later. This sense of self-respect carries forward into the marriage itself, as both individuals begin their relationship on a foundation of honor and responsibility rather than emotional confusion or past complications. The involvement or awareness of family can also play a role in protecting dignity. When the process is open and transparent, it removes secrecy and builds trust. Both individuals know that they are engaging in something meaningful and serious, rather than something hidden or uncertain. This transparency reduces the chances of misunderstanding and ensures that everyone involved is on the same page. Furthermore, protecting emotions does not mean suppressing them completely. It means managing them wisely. Islam does not deny that feelings are natural. Rather, it teaches that they should develop in the right context. By allowing limited, purposeful interaction, it ensures that any emotional connection that forms is based on reality, understanding, and a clear path toward commitment. In the end, this approach leads to healthier outcomes. Whether the marriage moves forward or not, both individuals walk away with their dignity intact and their emotions protected. There is no unnecessary baggage, no lingering confusion, and no damage to their sense of self-worth. This is one of the most compassionate aspects of Islamic guidance. It cares not only about actions, but also about the emotional well-being of individuals. By setting boundaries and encouraging sincerity, Islam creates a process that respects both the heart and the character. It ensures that relationships begin with clarity, grow with responsibility, and remain within limits that protect everyone involved. This is why the emphasis on dignity and emotional protection is not just important. It is essential to the entire concept of permissible interaction before marriage.